Hi and welcome at ARIS TV. Today we are reporting live from Prague, so we are here at ProcessWorld in Prague. And I have today as a special interview guest James Adamczyk. Hello Jim.
Hi Eric.
Nice to have you here, and Jim is responsible as head of process automation practice at Accenture for the rollout also of the ARIS into the field. So he is working a lot with ARIS and he's heading the process automation governance. And Accenture used since June 2008 ARIS for their process high-performance business process models, which are industry reference models at Accenture. And my first question to Jim is, what is the high-performance business models and what are you doing with those models?
Thanks, Eric. The high-performance process models are an example of how we at Accenture package and reuse our knowledge capital and our expertise as assets across our organization, which is a fairly complex task because Accenture is a large organization with multiple services from consulting, systems integration, and outsourcing, as well as broad geographic scope, over 49 countries, and a lot of people, 180,000 or more. So the high-performance business process models consist of two parts: a core model, which defines how the business works, which is common to all of our 20 industries and then numerous industry subsegments. The core models, the definition of which are functions and high-level processes defined in ARIS terms as value diagrams, are a set of standards which all the industries are following and building. In addition, different industries have built different industry add-ons based upon their market, the need in the market, and the services they provide, ranging from anything of cost reduction to organizational design, and most importantly to IT implementations, support for linking the industry reference models to enterprise architecture, solution configuration, and even process-centric composite applications.
Okay, thank you. So this is a big number of processes you mentioned and a big number of people that you are covering with that stuff. What are the challenges that you see in your clients adopting the process and the reference models?
That's a good question, Eric. I think the first and the biggest part of the challenge we see is some confusion over what a reference model is versus what standards are and versus what SOA models are. So we view the industry reference model as much more of something which is a starting point to be customized for every organization. So customized in terms of the organization's operating model, business model, and business objectives. The reference model is a framework for which the companies can attach all of their various process models and other detailed web services and other things like that, and people get those confused. I think the second challenge we face is that there are other companies that have reference models, and there are open standards groups in different industries that are working on reference models. And our point of view is that what's most important isn't that you use the Accenture reference model, although of course that's what we'd like, but what's most important is an organization you should use a reference model so that you can bring cohesion and coherence to all of the work you do. And finally, the last challenge we see, and this varies by geography, is just the challenge in doing formal modeling. There are a number of industry segments and there are a number of geographies, for example in the United States, where there is a little more resistance to formality than you find in other parts of the world.
Okay, Jim, so why did Accenture choose the ARIS platform, and how does ARIS help to address those challenges you mentioned?
Well, we chose ARIS last year, Eric, because really for three main reasons. First of all, what I would call the openness of the approach, the fact that ARIS is a technology neutral. And it's focused on the modeling and not so much trying to pull through an underlying BPM or SOA technology. Secondly, the maturity and the sophistication of the capability. If you think about what Accenture is trying to do, in some ways it's more complex than any one organization would do, because we're trying to maintain multiple models and multiple references, whereas a company would try to have fewer of those, of course. And finally, the ARIS modeling approach allows us to combine and tailor and configure our models for individual clients. For example, we're working with a large bank that has done a merger of equals, if you would, that each of the banks had their own particular operating model and their own particular process reference model. So we're using the High Performance Bank and the ARIS tool to help bridge those models and combine them into a single organization, and having the ability to link different models into a similar structure helps people understand how they got to their new model. Another example is within an SAP implementation for a large chemicals manufacturer. Again, they're using our reference model as a starting point, but they're using the ARIS tools and capabilities to link to SAP Solution Manager.
Okay. So how has ARIS helped Accenture to develop and to distribute those models then?
Well, our development process, Eric, is a combination of harvesting from client engagements and client projects. So we're working with Accenture teams all over the world, but each industry has one centralized support team who's responsible for the harvesting and providing the process architecture and governance of the industry model. But those teams work in all sorts of different countries around the world. Many times they're working actually in India and some of our support locations. So ARIS technology and the capability provide a lot of the function and scalability for that. The second major part that ARIS has helped for us is the referential integrity. Many of our consultants are used to using tools like Visio, where at the last minute when you need to make a massive change to all of the numbers or you need to make a massive rearrangement, it's a very manual intensive process, and our project teams, as they learn the capabilities of ARIS, are excited by the ability to use referential integrity and change things once and have them replicate across the model.
Okay, so this sounds very impressive because you have a lot of models, you have a lot of people. As you could hear here in the background, now the keynote starts, so we have to hurry up a little bit. But one thing I'm still interested in, to summarize, you work with a lot of people, you have a lot of content in ARIS, and it makes sense to use this in ARIS compared to other systems like Visio, as you mentioned. What is your lesson learned out of all this stuff?
I think our lessons learned, I would summarize them in 5 areas. The first one is separating the functionality of what people have to know. So we've worked to try to minimize the number of people in Accenture who have to know the complexity of database administration and managing the business server and the business publisher, and tried to make that something that can be supported for project teams centrally. Secondly, I've had a rule that I've tried to enforce amongst all of our industry teams, which I call use it, then change it. Because ARIS has a huge amount of capability to customize and tailor and make the tool do the things that you want it to do. But what I didn't want people to do was spend time making the tool do what their previous environments did. I wanted them to learn the new tool, learn what it could do, and then begin to customize it based upon that. And what I found repeatedly was that in cases where teams came in with a starting list of what they wanted, would after 6 months remove many of those items and add new things which were much more relevant to the capabilities. The third area was having a governance model, having an approach to manage when content was changed and how content's changed. We've been very flexible with that governance model because we think it's evolving and changing as industries learn more, but we've made each industry define what it was before they started. The fourth challenge is always a hard challenge for any organization, which is how to share and how to reuse. And I don't know that we have any better answer than anybody else, but you do it through a combination of training and documentation and good standards and common communication basis. And lastly, the fifth success, I would say, what we've been surprised about is the value of the business publisher, the ability to open up our models throughout the organization without any tools and to use a web-based browser to at least become familiar with the content and to do training during downtime and to gather some information during proposal has been very valuable for us. And I would say it's a key success factor is the capability of the ARIS platform.
Great. This sounds good. So a lot of lessons learned that you gave to our audience here. So Jim, I would like to thank you for coming, having you as an interview partner.
Okay, thank you, Eric, and good luck with the rest of the ProcessWorld in Prague.
Yeah, it was a pleasure, and I will come back to you with the next episode. By the way, Jim has a lot of visitors during his speech in Munich, and today we will see if we have the same success here with his keynote speech in Prague. Thank you, and see you later.